Commercial photography is here to do one thing, and it's to sell you a vision. And so I internalized that the first 6, 7, 8 years of my career to sell you whatever I can, because I can. My photos have never been photoshopped.
Yeah.
They've done in a single take, never burst mode.
Right.
Because I want to feel the shot. Like that to me is like the photo Olympics. I want it to be that dude that just gets that one particular shot. You throw it and it reaches the climax, and the climax has to be that perfect moment between falling and going up where it just pauses.
Hey, this is Chaz, and welcome to my world from my living room. Today we're going to talk to Erick Hercules. We're going to talk about his amazing Levitation photography, how our music backgrounds have shaped our photography careers, and the strategy and insight while working with brands. So, sit back, relax, and welcome to my world from my living room. So this isn't like what do you call it? Oh, we're doing everything formulaic. We're doing everything like in order. I just flow because the nature of this podcast is it's all about flowing. It's about just engaging in a conversation. Yeah, we're asking questions. You ask questions to me, I'm asking questions to you. But at the end of the day, is what you say very eloquently, it's a vibe. So with that said, you know what? I am going to formally introduce this because I think that this has been a long time coming. I've been trying to get this gentleman, my good friend, Erick Hercules, over to the spot for so long, and just through life, hadn't been able to happen, but we here now. We in here.
This is it.
We in here.
Blessed to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. So welcome to another edition of My World from My Living Room. And today, as I mentioned, I have my guy, Erick Hercules, which is an amazing creative and one of my favorite content creators, photographers, friends out there. And we started in such a unique way where I was a fan of his from a distance, and he didn't know that. I mean, he's out there, he's got, hundreds of thousands of followers, blah, 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 in the social media space. And I'm like, this guy, I love the way he captures. I love the raw, authentic, and cerebral as well. I mean, there is a level of humanity, but the way that your work stood out to me, I was like, okay, I'll give him a follow because he's one of those guys that has a lot of followers, right? But then I'm like, okay, it's qualified by great work, right? So then, lo and behold, we ended up finally meeting by accident. We met
at the Vessel, I think it was, or the Empire State.
Empire State Building, I think.
It was Pursuit of Portraits.
Yes.
And it was just like a beautiful sunrise meet.
Yes. Oh, sunrise. Who's getting up that early?
We just had an incredible conversation with this gentleman, and 5 minutes went by, 10 minutes went by, and I was like, who is this man? What's happening? Everybody knew him. You've already been homies with Skitty and the gang.
Yeah.
And then, automatic fam since then.
Yeah. And some of those relationships just kind of meld into how do we know each other? Yeah. But how are we so close? It's just
we automatically knew.
Yeah, it was just one of those things that was like, okay, he's one of those people I'm supposed to know. And you invite me out to your birthdays, and I come out and I just see how people loved you and how infectious your personality was, and it was like, this guy's special, far beyond our one-on-ones and stuff like that. This guy is an important person far beyond his work, and that really kind of helped create the 360 of who you are. It started from face value, right? But then it turned into this three-dimensional, okay, he's a person, he parties, he drinks, he eats. Okay, yeah, he's a real person. Okay, yeah, he's a real person.
As we should be.
Yeah.
I think, and it's funny because whether we like it or not, a lot is set through, what you post on Instagram or so. I know that I'm too much of an OCD person, super perfectionist, which I think I've changed lately. But you're able to tell a lot of truth through people's photography.
Right. That's true.
And through yours, you're a very personable, you love seeing the best in people, and I can tell that quality, the warmth of you through your photos.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And just speaking about photography in general, we'll start there just because that was kind of somewhat the jump off as far as how we connected, because I think there was a healthy respect for each other. I mean, I'm not one of those people that has thousands of followers and, and killing the gram and all that sort of stuff. But what I post is something that's personal to me, and I hope it resonates with the right people. And those people that, that my work resonates with, when I meet them in person, it feels like there was already a natural bridge, right? So, talk about your photography, because you have a very unique path and a course that seems almost similar to mine. Tell me about that, the genesis, how it evolved, and everything like that. Yeah. Tell me about that.
I think we really initially clicked because we found out that we were both from the music world.
Yes.
I sang opera professionally close to a decade, from 12 to like 21. And studying music really forged my creativity in the most colorful way, because in music you get to dissect music theory and realize that music is nothing but mathematics. It's organized sounds.
Right.
And so bridging the gap of weird chord progressions and seeing how chord progressions become something that makes you feel weird at first, and it cadences into something beautiful, and then it just breaks up again. And so that constant pull and push of feelings.
Right.
If you want to make somebody feel sad, write something in B flat minor.
Right.
Like if you want to make somebody happy, write something in major, right?
Yep.
And little things like that make you think about the little buttons you press to create a feeling. And so when I was moving into photography in the early parts of Instagram, that's what I kind of wanted to evoke. I want to make people feel some sort of mood here. So all of my pictures were incredibly moody, very basic, math in there, like vantage points and all of that. So my first, I would say, initial creative spark came from puddlegram photography in 2014, 13. Two photographers, one in Germany and another one in Philadelphia, I believe. They had already developed a small community of just doing puddle photography.
Wow.
They called it puddlegram.
Got it.
And I jumped in that and I was like,
yes.
this is fire. And so 2014, 2015, all you saw me in the streets was finding puddles. And I never wanted to, a lot of people would bring jugs of water or, to put, a little puddle into, but I've always loved the natural aspect of finding something that's already there.
Right.
And so my challenge would be to find puddles in front of the Empire State Building or the World Trade Center. And so that was my initial dive into the creativity via the visual perspective, the visual narrative.
Right.
And, that was what I was known for first. And then eventually it evolved into Levitation. And that came through one of my
huge.
dear...
If you don't know, yo.
Thank you. One of my dear friends, Friendy Lamorin, who used to be, one of the hottest bloggers of the time during the Soho days. And he got this commission from this unknown brand at the time, Stuttenheim, to shoot, the jackets. And all they gave him was a little brief, and they said, "We just want you to elevate the brand." And when they said that, I remember going to school. I went to high school, LaGuardia High School for Music and Arts, walking through Lincoln Center and seeing this beautiful photo of, it was this Lacoste campaign, 2006, 2008 or something. Everybody levitating in the air, nothing but clouds in the back. And it always stuck with me.
Yeah.
So when they said elevate the brand, I was like, dude, let's have him jump. So I had him jump in the middle of this park. And then I did a couple of weird angles. And I digged it, dude.
Yeah.
And that's where it really began. And I started, adding one levitation image in all of my campaigns.
Right.
And all of the work that I did, whether it was models, fun stuff, levitate, whatever, or orange, or a coffee cup, whatever it was. I just wanted to put things in the air.
Right.
And so that's where it all began.
Dude, that's amazing. And with that, you've really been able to, kind of corner a niche and even developed a community around levitation. And, people, you say levitation and people can break it down oh yeah, all he did was X, Y, and Z to get it to this particular thing. Anybody could do that, but no, anybody can't do that. And you've proven it because you've been able to work with the likes of Nike, Adidas, all these major campaigns who really wanted that aesthetic, and everything, all that money funneled to you. All that business funneled to you because you were the person who really made it popular for people to want to elevate their brand. And that's essentially what brands want to do. They want to have their story told. They want to be elevated in the public's eye. But you took that a step further and actually literally started levitating their products, which is huge.
There's two ways to answer this, right? The geeky side of me has always been, I always want to push art to the next level. That I think every artist has this heartfelt duty within them to be the vessel for something else,
right.
To be the vessel of something that comes out of them. And Levitation to me was that form in the visual narrative that came through, why me? I don't know, but I was very just lucky to be at that time in that moment, because it was one of those techniques that, to be honest, was going to be discovered sooner or later.
Sure.
We're living in a very fast-paced world right now.
Sure.
Somebody's going to throw something in the air,
Right.
high shutter, and boom, there it is. That can be something.
Right.
But I think from my take, I was really geeky about it, and I invested 5 years of my life, really studying it. Why does it work? The angles, what kind of angle is better for a sneaker? We developed a couple of angles for sneakers, for example, that are now copied and replicated all over the world with all these fashion brands.
Right.
The sneaker upside down and all these things.
Sure.
And it came out of the pure aspect of discovery. Discovering not only myself, but also discovering how far we can push photography.
Right.
And if you dig one step further, the reason why Levitation works is that if I were to compare it to music, music it just has waves, and then through 75% of the song, you get to the bridge, and that's the highlight of the song, and that's when it breaks up, and that's when it comes together. That's when the problem gets a solution. That's that hit, that in the middle, and you're just like, oh, that's my part. That's when, JT breaks down, Summer Love. You're like, oh, this is hitting. That's what I wanted people to feel when they saw Levitation photo, right?
Sure.
So Levitation to me is the, let's say, let me just take this battery, for example, but it's the highlight of the beginning and the end of the song. You throw it, and it reaches the climax, and the climax has to be that perfect moment between falling and going up, where it just pauses. And the minute and the goal is to make it pause in that angle that maximizes the power of the unknown.
Right.
What is before, what is after, you don't know.
Right.
But what's in it right now for you is that immediate present moment of you looking at this in the air and you wondering, how the hell is that done? Is that Photoshop? No, it's not Photoshop. That's actually real life.
Right.
And just pulling the spectator to that, it gives them, they become part of the world.
Right.
They become part of this world. And that to me is the essence of Levitation and why it works and why it's so powerful.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. I could definitely attest to the way that storytelling through music and really kind of having a lot of those things, not necessarily by the mood of a chord or a progression getting me to a certain place, but more so from the way that, I may edit it, right? Because my vantage point, musically speaking, I have a method. If people ask me like, oh, I love your colors, Chaz. I love this. I love the way, I feel your work. And I'm like, wow, I like that you said feel it, because my whole thing is I just add salt and pepper. I just add a little salt and pepper. I don't need all these huge filters and this, that, and the other. If it inspires me to shoot it, it's more than likely about 90% there. The rest of everything else is just maybe accentuating colors that I may feel a little bit more, right? And that kind of gives me something that, it's that message that I'm trying to relay, right? A message prepared from the mind reaches minds. So if you did it in a very mathematical way, which we're going to get to with that other side of your photography, you do it in a mathematical way, you're going to reach a person that may be more analytical, that may be thinking of it as you shot it, which was more, by angles and shapes and geometry and that sort of thing. But if I shoot a human condition, a father and son walking across the street in perfect stride,
you can't equate
I'm
that.
shooting from the heart. So that's where I wanted to reach. So what do I need to really edit that, aside from maybe make it warmer, just to give it that human feel? But outside of that, it's just like, there's not really much when you shoot with purpose at the end of the day, whether it be emotionally, musically, or however you want to do it.
What are photographers but humble storytellers at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I think ego gets in the way, fame gets in the way, all these externalities get in the way. But if you really break it down, we are the vessel for a story that's coming out through us. But the story's already there. Our job is to be able to tell it in the most respectful, honorable, honest, real way possible.
Right.
Right now we're suffering through this is like a, what is it, desensitization? Like we're all desensitized to the external world, to everything. People don't know how to feel anymore. We really need, we're going through a crazy world, and as photographers, our goal is to be honest with our work.
Right.
And I like that you said, all I have to do is add salt and pepper, because honestly, the story's already there.
Right.
Our job is to just capture it and maximize it and bring back the humanity that connected us all in the first place. That's why we started photography. Right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Your journey in photography, like you said, you started in a place where, it started with puddles, and then it went to levitation. And then there was a moment where there'd be, I don't know if it's post-COVID or anything like that.
Post-COVID all day.
Post-COVID, right? Because we were all trying to find ourselves and find our next happy step. Like, we need to find out where we want to be next in life. And I started seeing your feed, and I'm like, okay, this is a little bit removed from what I'm used to seeing from Erick. And you started really kind of capturing the city in a very unique way. Tell me about that.
COVID made me realize that I've always called myself an artist, and I've always loved what I've done. I'm very passionate and perfectionist about pulling the best story together with what I have in front of me. And to be honest, I loved commercial photography. I love commercial photography.
Sure.
It's a way to tell a narrative the way I want it to be told, focus every line, it's a very straightforward, methodical form of photography. Commercial photography is here to do one thing, and it's to sell you a vision. This is the hottest product you ever want to buy. This is it. Right. And so I internalized that the first 6, 7, 8 years of my career to sell you whatever I can, because I can. It's like now you understand how to manipulate angles and light and sources to make that particular subject be like the hottest thing.
Right.
And during the pandemic, obviously, America was just broken apart.
Yeah.
And you realize, wait, hold on a second. Here I am calling myself an artist for the people, by the people, but yet I'm working for the man while trying to fight the man. Like, what am I really doing? And post-COVID, I decided two things. It's to take back my levitation photography and make it fine art. And what I mean by that is that I never really told the full story of levitation photography. And levitation photography, comes out of trauma, comes out of love, comes out of an appreciation for the undone in a real world. A lot of people think that levitation photography is photoshopped, and my photos have never been photoshopped.
Yeah.
They've done in a single take, never burst mode.
Right.
Because I want to feel the shot. Like, that to me is like, it's almost like the photo Olympics. I want it to be that dude that just gets that one particular shot, and that's my perfectionism in me, I guess, but that was me, and I don't think anybody ever heard that before.
Sure.
And they never really understood the philosophy of equating it to music and the music movement, right? And that's something that I've fundamentally carried within myself. And so I felt the need to share it. People need to know, if you're gonna do this, if you're gonna follow this technique and try it at home, I want you to know that it's more than just throwing something in the air and being like, that's cool.
Right.
It's supposed to mean something. It's a way of communicating something. You know? So use this tool to communicate something a little bit more powerful.
Right.
That's when I really got into now the mathematics of photography. I started thinking during the pandemic how we've been marketed a lie in America. We've been told one thing, but we've been treated a different way. We've been, especially as minorities or even the creative industry, like, we've gone through a lot of points where, you look back and you're like, why are we okay with this? And digging into the work that I was doing previously, I realized, wait, hold on a second, there's something here. Why does commercial photography work? Why is some photography more powerful than the other? And that's when I started looking at angles and mathematics behind photography.
Right.
Pulling it back to music, music is organized sound.
Right.
everything is mathematical. In order for me to make you feel a little blue, all I have to do is add a minor third there, like maybe like suspend the seventh, like just hold that seventh.
He up in his theory bag right now.
And you're just and like you just feel a certain way, And then that's when it hit me. It's like, dude, like photography is doing the same thing. Sometimes you look at movies or even photos and you're like, wait, that hits.
Right.
Why does it hit? You break it down, the rule of thirds is there, the Fibonacci sequence is there, the balances of lines and shapes and subjects is there.
Right.
And you know this, and most photographers know this because we've been in this, but sometimes we forget the value that has in relationship to how we communicate to each other.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
If you look into the context of how minorities were photographed, earlier 2000s and all the way back, more contrasty, from above, right? Like superiority, like we're, super dark, super moody, not well lit, very, very sharp, our skin tones were off.
Yeah.
What does that say about how we represent ourselves? And later, what does that say when you look at yourself in subway banners or people like you in subway banners and you look at how we're being portrayed?
Right.
It does something to you. If you really think about what started the world wars, it wasn't just Hitler talking, it was Hitler's propaganda, the big lines, the big shapes, the color red in your face, the symmetry of the person. And then if you looked at it, everything was from above. You were talking to a superior. It made people feel like you need to listen to this man.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, imagery is everything, for sure. I could vividly remember times where, I'm watching films and it was interesting. There was a film, I want to say it starts with an F. It's a Steven Spielberg film that he recently did. And it was interesting because it was through the lens of, I forget the name of the director. But the bottom line, I think it was Steven Spielberg's actual, it was a story starting from a child, growing up. But the director that he ultimately wanted to meet was a director that taught him how to shoot. And he said, never keep anything neutral in the middle. Either shoot from above or below. If you shoot from below, you're gonna look up at someone, which gives them power. If you shoot from up to down, like you said, you're gonna see the oppressed. You're gonna see someone weak. You're gonna see someone smaller. So it's interesting that you've been able to break that down the way that you have, in a way that the angle that you shoot evokes an emotion as well.
If you look at all my subjects in Levitation, they're all shot from below.
Right.
I want everybody to look beautiful.
Right.
I want everybody to feel powerful.
Yeah.
I want everybody to look at themselves and be like, yo, I did that. Even if it's a minimal jump, I want you to feel like a king.
Right.
I want you to feel like a queen.
Even if you couldn't jump, the height of a curb, I want to make you like Michael Jordan.
16 millimeter, 12 millimeter. I want you to make it feel good.
Yo, speaking of which, I'm gonna take you back real quick. So you ain't know we were gonna talk about this. You remember that one shoot that we did? You brought me in as a subject for Budweiser, I believe.
That's right.
and you remember? Watch this. So we went to this park. It was cold, and it was actually Halloween day. That's where I was talking about the Halloween.
Dude,
that's what that was for. That's what it was for.
I remember it now.
Okay, that's what it was for.
Because they closed the cemetery.
So we did this photo shoot. We did this starting on his rooftop, which is great. We started there, and then we went to a basketball court, a park or something like that. Yeah. And then we took an Uber to the last location, which was a cemetery in Queens. And it just so happened to be Halloween that day. And we were there, it was sunny, it was beautiful. The trees lined the walkway, everything was beautiful. We did the shoot, and as we were packing up, we're about to leave. Wait.
The door's closed.
They locked the gates.
The gates are closed.
On Halloween. They locked the gates on Halloween. And a cemetery, it ain't a climbable fence. It's like, it's got the spikes and everything, and you got to climb like really strategic to get over it.
4 of us had to climb with all the gear.
Oh my gosh.
It was wild.
Oh my gosh. That was a day that I'll never forget. Halloween, and we like lifted each other over the fence and did all this stuff. Because we called an Uber first, thinking that, okay, we're about to walk out, so.
We already ordered the food.
We ordered the food and everything. And we got locked in the cemetery on Halloween. You can't make that up. Like, that's crazy.
Part of the vibe.
That's, I mean, it definitely created a memorable day, but I just wanted to take this moment to thank each and every one of you all for joining me right here in my living room. I know it's a different format than your typical podcast, but this is something that felt really natural and organic for me to be able to share my most authentic self with you. The people who I've invited to my home are people that allow me to think a little bit differently, and they also inspire me. And I hope they do for you as well. So if you would, hit the subscribe button, leave me a comment and a question. Till then, let's continue this conversation. But man, you've always been riding for your community, and you bring people in on your projects. Like, you brought me in on that project. You bring a lot of other people in that you know and trust, their work. You trust them as a person, trust them as a friend. So, me being a part of any of your projects is an honor. And especially when I know that you can choose from anyone, right? And the people you bring in really kind of help share your vision. Who are some of your favorite collaborators that you really enjoy working with, that, maybe you work with all the time, or, to where you're just gonna go, whenever I'm working with this person, I know we're just gonna bang it out.
Well, first and foremost, a little bit before I say my favorite collaborators amongst you, you're such a pleasure, dude. Brings the vibes all day, every day. Everybody's down.
Thank you.
Well, part of our job as communicators, as people who are lucky enough to be able to do what we do, is bring in the communities that we want to see be portrayed in these campaigns.
Right.
Because if we don't put ourselves up, who is? Right. And we want to expand how we see ourselves in these spots, and if we don't put ourselves, our communities, our people there, then, very few people are. So I rather us do that than, wait until somebody says you.
Exactly.
In terms of collaborators, our boy Denny is incredible. Yeah. I think his Instagram was Denny623. Yeah. But Denny is an iconic fashion icon, like a straight up icon. He brought the vintage vibe back to the world, really. Right. And I remember when Vogue wrote a story on him last year, it made me so happy because out of anybody in the world, this guy has been about it through the thickest and the thinnest. Yes. Not about the following, not about the being an influence, just about being him. Right. The authenticity of him being him throughout everything for decades. Yeah. Leading a vision through his clothing. Right. And then my other favorite collaborators would be the Jabberwockies. Oh yeah. When it comes to levitation, when it comes to organized movement, 1, 2, 3, pop. Done. Right. Like one take. They are so professional. Yeah. It was so funny. The first time I met them, we were in Vegas and they were filming something for this TV thing. And then after that, they're like, let's go out to dance, let's go out hang. Right. And I remember walking into a place and they're all breaking down in the dance floor. And everybody around is like, who are these people? Because they're not wearing masks. Nobody knows how the Jabberwockies walk. And little did they know they were hanging out with the Jabberwockies, and they're just out here just killing it in a dance. So
they kind of did a pseudo flash mob.
Everybody would come in and just do their dance, break dance and just do flares and shit. And everybody's like, yo, these people are fire. What's your name?
Truth be told, I had a friend of mine who managed him for a time.
Oh, get out of here.
Yeah, my friend Brent Howard, who actually I got to know in Nashville. I was actually his first friend in Nashville when he moved there from California, Modesto. But yeah, so he'd actually, and then I think I may have mentioned that to you, but it was like, when you said Jabberwockies and I saw you post something, I was like, oh man, my friend Brent worked with them. That's amazing. So it's amazing how there's a comment of how it works like that.
Are only getting smaller.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're in this field, right? Yeah. Because you could do the whole, I know this person, let me introduce you, or you can kind of run into them somehow and you're kind of going, wait, how do I know you? I know you through someone else, but we've never been directly introduced. It's really cool how this
And the older
works.
we get, the more you invest into being a creative in this world, you meet people that, you're like, oh, of course we have 6 friends in common. It makes so much sense.
Right.
And of course you're here. Like, you need to be. Like, we would have met regardless whether now or 5 years from now.
Right.
And it's only gets smaller. That's why, guys, don't be assholes. Be honest, be chill, be real, put people on, be nice, be a giver. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. And that seems like such a trite statement to say. Oh, be nice to everybody because you never know who you're going to meet. Like,
no, but in the most purest of sense,
it's the purest of sense because you could be in a room with someone that can offer an opportunity, but like all of a sudden you're like, hey, how you doing? Da-da-da. Oh, I do this. Da-da-da. You're like, and then in the back of their mind, instead of that, oh, you're familiar through someone else. I heard about you. Now you're silently remembered, kind of going, oh yeah, oh hey Eric, and then you're in the back of your mind with the narrative of like, oh, this was that butthole that dude was talking
X,
about.
Y, Z.
Oh yeah, no, we're gonna ride with him. Hey, nice to meet you, Eric, and I'm gonna be off over here. And you'll never know because they'll never tell you.
One thing my mom told me is just be a giver, Eric, and like don't expect anything from anybody. Just be a giver and just be an honest man that just is a man of value to everybody around you. It doesn't cost you a dime, and honestly, it's crazy because I'm now in this part of my career where it's crazy because I'm finally picking the fruits of my labor, and like I'm not saying like that was laborious, but it's like, oh damn, like I was nice to somebody that like I forgot. And I put them on, that I gave them a campaign or whatever, and I was like, listen, like, God bless you, keep riding, keep shining, and they'll turn back, and now they're the photographer for Pitbull. Like, yo, come through this, thank you for putting me on, here it is. And it's like, damn, bro, like, I love you, I appreciate that, And so, one of the things that I always remember is real leaders build more leaders. They don't build more followers, right? And so
that's good.
We're in this moment in life where everybody's seeking this quantification of validation.
Right.
And
we've all been a victim of that.
We I mean, it's the glitter and the gold. As a creative, sometimes you're like, maybe that's my way of getting bigger clients, increasing my portfolio. But it's a very short-term goal.
Yeah.
The goal here is to really be a vessel for something bigger. And it's not just about feeding my ego and being like, look, I put you on. It's more of like, how can I invest into people that deserve to win?
Right.
Like people that invested in me when I was just starting and they saw that I deserved to win. You know? Shout out to Homie Diaz, Matt Pantoja, like these are like early people in my career who, for example, brought me to Palladium boots, and Palladium was one of my first sneaker boot clients, footwear clients, and they gave me the liberty to be myself.
Yeah.
They were like, all right, Eric, we love this Levitation thing. And this was before people were seeding stuff.
Right.
Like, yo, we'll send you some shoes. And they sent me like 20 shoes.
Right.
Everybody in my family was wearing Palladium that year.
Oh, that's crazy.
And I was like, what's your size, bro? I'll send you some shoes. It was amazing because they were like, listen, do whatever you want with them. And I shot this like Levitation campaign, and that's where like it became, Levitation was intertwined with the footwear world.
Yeah.
But they opened up, for me, and Homie saw me, a fellow Queens guy himself.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, like, let's do a campaign. Got me into the campaign world, and, I'm lucky to be here because of people like him. So how can we be the next Homie Diaz's of the world?
Right.
And give back and put people on.
I love that. As far as, like taking a page out of that moment, because being your true authentic self, especially when it comes to creating, is something that I've struggled with because I have different compartments in my life. Just like yourself, you have the music as well. I have music too. My studio is back there. And I have a photography and content creation professional page as well, right? So I want to compartmentalize things like that. And when I first started, I felt like I was late in the whole Instagram game. I was like, man, how does this work? And then I started being really formulaic. I was like, everything had to match, everything had to be symmetrical. I had to have the perfect 3 rows across and create a story within 1 row. And I was very stringent. I'm like, how does this thing work? I know it's consistency, but maybe it's the look of my feed. Maybe that should be a thing. And I had gone through and I really kind of grew up creatively in the Instagram game because it allowed me to understand who I was as a person and as a creator. Because now that I've really put a lot of my eggs now in this basket of doing this podcast, it means so much more because now instead of putting, dope photos and bangers and all that sort of stuff and taking that pressure off myself, I'm like, you know what? this is all encompassing of me.
Yes.
This podcast is about me. I want to put video snippets up there. Okay, Reels, you doing Reels now? Okay, well, you're going to still get that part of me. So I started doing I started putting a lot of my podcast stuff. If you look at my page, a lot of it's really, the first 9, frames or whatever is podcast clips from my first season. And so I'm like, that's still about me. It's still within the creative space. I talk a little bit about photography, but that's not the sum of me. But it's still something I created. So I'm like, okay, I can still be my authentic self on this page without it having to be these perfect photos that I think people want to see.
My theory is 100%. My theory is, because I was lucky to go through like the first phase of Instagram, then we both went through the second and third and all that. But we've reached a phase where like everybody is we're at the height of influencer marketing right now. Like that's not, in my opinion, is gonna have to evolve.
Right.
Once again, we're very desensitized. Everything is looking the same. Pages are looking the same. Like influencers, quote unquote, is a cookie cutter copy of each other, right? Mm-hmm. We're missing that humanity. Right. And that humanity is encompassing of many different factors. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy because the first half of my career, I focused mostly on finding my niche. And I would go preach that, talking at NYU or CUNY. I was like, yo, find your niche and go all in, like make that be the thing. If you're gonna wear a blue hat, wear that blue hat everywhere and like make that be known for you. Yes and no.
Right.
It works on it just to get you there.
Right.
Like finding a niche proves to the market, proves to the world, okay, he or she or they are talented in this particular thing, or like they're known for this, it's cool. Like they build a little brand, a little entity, but what else? Right? Mm-hmm. Because I also fell victim to I'm gonna be the levitation guy. And I fell into that. And it was so sad because towards the end of my career, pre-COVID, I was so tired of it, And I was like, it was great, all these brands were hitting me up, but it was bad because I love to challenge myself. As I told you, I love to do the undone. I love to push myself and push art forward. And I felt like I really couldn't do that because it was off-brand. It was not me. It was not what the world knows me as. Right. And then you realize that's only 10%. And so we have to take a page from the Virgil Ablohs, from the Kanye West, from the Pharrell Williams, from which they're like, you know what? I remember when I first met like Pharrell, like 2006, I was a backup dancer for T.I. at the VMAs. And I didn't even know who this guy was. But like
VA's finest, baby.
People were like, yo, like, get his autograph. So I got his autograph and I'm like, who the hell is this guy? I look into him. And at that time he was designing chairs with like this like Italian company. And I was like, but I thought you were a singer or a rapper or something. Like, and you realize like, nah, he's everything. He just does it, So for me, Pharrell is like the epitome of a Renaissance man.
We went to school together. Truth be told.
See, like, the world's only getting smaller.
We went to school together in Virginia.
Wow.
Because we both went to a governor's magnet school, gifted and talented school.
That's right. It's the LaGuardia of Virginia.
Right. So we were in passing, but he wasn't Pharrell. I wasn't who I am, which is not really Pharrell. But anyway, I ran into him again in Nashville when he was trying to produce one of my friends, because it's a small town. If you're in music, it's like 1 degree of separation from everybody. It was this blonde girl that lived in my building that was an aspiring country artist, and her management was looking to do something big. Pharrell was looking to produce a country artist. And I'm like, Pharrell? Country? So I ran into him after CMA Awards in a city at one of the hot spots. I think it was Cane Prime, which was like this high-end steak restaurant. And he was just coming out. I was like, Pharrell, yo, what's up, man? VA's finest. Like, we went to magnet school together. He's like, oh, yo, okay. And you didn't remember me or anything like that. But the fact that it was a VA Connect, right? That was dope. So just got a quick selfie. Talked to my friend. I'm like, yo, what's going on with Pharrell? Yo, you got Pharrell. He's like, who is Pharrell? I don't know who this guy is. He doesn't know anything about country, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yo, are you crazy right now? Like,
but it's a testament of him trying to be everywhere, doing everything.
Well, that's my point. So get this. So she pretty much was like, oh, I'm not really feeling it. I'm not digging it. It's not true to my whatever. She didn't know who she was at the time. I don't believe, she had great intentions, but I think she was just scared because there was the pressure of having this country purity, and she was about to do something really avant-garde. From his vantage point.
Wouldn't you say that's the pressure for all of us? That's what keeps us in the little little niche.
But watch this. Can I just tell you this? Although she may have given up, he didn't. Guess who he ended up producing? Ended up getting a CMA award from Little Big Town.
Wow. Wow.
Which is a country trio. I mean, you can't make it up.
Wow.
He produced their whole record. And you didn't even know that.
That's crazy.
Yo.
That's what it is, dog.
I'm telling you.
See, you don't know Pharrell as the country producer, right?
Right.
You just know him as a Renaissance man because he does everything. And like, I think that's the page that we multi-hyphenates need to think about
Right.
and be part of, right? We are in a world in which everybody's like in their own bubble. Just by definition of evolution, we all like to feel safe.
Right.
And so if you find something that makes you feel safe, if you find this category of humans that make you feel safe, if you find people wearing a certain, style of even a footwear or fashion, you feel safe in that.
Yeah.
But you don't come to understand that when you look at it from a macro perspective, these are all little bubbles amongst a bigger bubble, which was life.
Right.
And as creatives and as people who have delved into photography, delved into, you do everything, voice narration, like, commercials, acting,
Yeah.
You understand that there's different nuances of connecting through our art.
Right.
And we have to be the vessel for that. And
Right.
finding yourself one niche and staying there made you pop in the 80s and 70s, when you were like a Basquiat or a whatever it is, like you had one thing.
Right.
You can't anymore. And it's
Right.
not because you want to be famous, but it's because we have a duty as creatives
Right.
to explore the depths of our truth
Yeah.
through our art,
Yeah.
whatever that is.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you're limiting the world from a bunch of gifts that are coming through you.
You know what's interesting? There's a push and pull with that. I would
Please.
venture to, because you think about it, as we are as artists, there is a level of evolution that we should have. But you think about this though, the people that we know in art through history, it stopped when they died. And that's what we know them for. You look at Keith Haring, Warhol, Henri Cartier-Bresson.
Yeah.
We know them, one a street photographer, one abstract, we know them as that thing. They didn't have the luxury of evolving the way we did, but we remember them for those things. You know what I'm saying?
We as humans put people and things in baskets. It's just part
Right.
of our programming and how we systematize our thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
right? But are you here to see what people think about you, or are you just here to do? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the
Because
thing.
ultimately, I think the doing is what will ultimately quantify the value of Chaz in this world, the value of
Yeah.
Erick in this world,
Sure.
right? And for me, I think it was a revelation of fighting with my ego and realizing, Erick, like, I don't want to be defined, you don't want to be defined by just that. That's not
Right.
just you, but also, I see art more now as a duty, as a communication tool. And I
Right.
see myself more of a vessel for whatever's coming through me. So whether it's singing, whether it is painting, whether it is, photography, whether it's videography, it's just being the tool for whatever's out,
Yeah.
because ultimately the world would define you as, you
That's
don't really
true.
have a say in how the world's gonna define
That's
you
true.
as. You
That's
just have
true.
to be your most authentic self. That's the way you want to be remembered. Like Chaz for Chaz, not Chaz for X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. I mean, I applaud your self-awareness, just understanding those moments that I can almost surmise that were in silence, where you didn't know where your next step was going to be.
For sure.
Where you're just kind of going, I don't want to be the levitation guy. I want to take photos of buildings and break down structures and do geometry, and I want to do that because that's another angle of my creativity.
Let me tell you what changed my life. I
Okay.
was so depressed. I remember we were in LA and I took a trip to LACMA, the LACMA Museum, and walk into this room full of beautiful blue paintings. Who painted them? Picasso. And I started seeing them and it's like, why are they in blue? And it's actually called Picasso's Blue Period. And he went through a blue period. I think one of his friends died, and he went through an incredible, like, just traumatic, just like depth of just, depression.
Yeah.
And so he painted everything in like blue and like little shades of green and all that. And he did that for about a couple of years. And then later he moved on to Cubism. And so from one day to the next, all you saw were just shapes.
Yeah.
Beautiful portraits, and then the next day just shapes.
Yeah.
And that's when it hit me. It's like, dude, my levitation is my blue period. What's next?
Yeah.
But it's up to you to decide.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the way that the world is set up now is to make everything digestible, tangible, understandable, to where you want to get it because everyone's trying to capture the mindset of where we are right now, which is very insta.
Mm-hmm.
Get to the point instantly. Get to the hook instantly. Get to the point instantly. But there are a few people who are true artists, like yourself, myself, and people who are really pushing the envelope, where you look on their feed one day and it's totally not what you're used to seeing, but you're kind of going, okay, all right, I'm here for it. Let's see where this goes, right? Prime example. Right now in the world and in mainstream culture and hip hop, right now, the evolution of Andre 3000.
Dude.
Everybody's got something to say, right? I just saw his performance on Stephen Colbert. I'm like, yes, he is an artist. Yes, you know him as, one half of one of the most prolific hip hop duos of all time, in Outkast, but you're seeing him evolve. And a lot of his evolution is not comfortable for everyone because everyone wants to keep him where they knew him.
Yeah.
They're not willing to go on that journey with him. But for me, I feel like, okay, play that flute. But you know what? I'm seeing this flute. This thing looks like a spaceship. I don't know if you've seen the new one that he's using. It looks like a spaceship. And I'm like, okay, he's pushing the envelope. He's pushing real music. Because you think about it, everything is with tracks. Everything's with a DJ in the back. Nobody's paying musicians anymore.
Dude.
So for him to actually tangibly touch an instrument and use it and actually have, professional musicians with him, opening up more room for more people. Because what are these people who went to school for music doing right now? If not trying to find another way to survive because music isn't where it was.
Yeah.
Because of that lack of evolution. The evolution is kind of devolved to let's make it simple. Just press a button and play the music and you just do something on top.
We're sedated. Again, the sedation of feeling is the most problematic thing in America, and then obviously since we export culture to the world. And as people who are in the mix of the greatest melting pot in the world, New York.
Yep.
Once again, I find it a duty for us to come back to that heart. Maybe we're too idealistic. Maybe I'm too idealistic. I think that we can probably bring it back in Kumbaya or way back into life. But if we don't, then who, right?
Yeah.
And also, utilizing, as you said, like Andre 2000, great example, bringing it back to like something with roots back to nature, back to us, back to community, back to like stillness, presence, right? Like, when was the last time people were present? You know, as a photographer, your duty is to be present. Even if you don't want to, sometimes you have to sit down here and be like, okay, what's happening? Look at everything, look at the depth of field, look at the subjects, see how the light is hitting, see how the shadows are shaping, see the colors, and balance it all out and maybe move a little bit to the right to make sure that you capture that lady walking down in specific, that like you're present. But that's a privilege that we have. And as storytellers, we have to take advantage of that presence and narrate it through our stories, through our work. And I think that he did that quite well with the flute. You can't be more present than
absolutely
live.
Well, and the thing is, I think it comes at a perfect time, right? So we're coming out of the pandemic where we all had to take a hard look at ourselves and figure out who we are when we're not tethered to a job, when we're not tethered to all the external factors in our lives, right? So then he comes along and totally wrecks the game. Man, what does that do? I mean, I've seen all the comments like, oh, what's he doing? He playing a flute? But you know what? Let me tell you something. This music is musical fragrance. If I'm sitting around the house, if I'm just kind of chilling, if I'm vibing, if I'm editing, if I'm doing something in stillness, that's what I want. I need something to calm me down from the rigors of the world, that when I come from outside, I can close my door and be in total solitude. That's why I rarely have anybody over here, and if I do, it's gotta be something that's human. It's gotta be a connection, you know?
I mean, we forget that art evolved with humanity, right? And so if it's evolving with us, it's clearly an important factor of how we narrate our truth, how we narrate our surroundings, our evolution, the context of culture, the context of lingos, of hierarchies, of everything, right? Of even like the philosophical statement of what it is like to be human. All these things are narrated through art.
Right.
And that's what baffles me, coming back to, all the way back to when I was talking about propaganda and, the Nazis. It's like, we forget that these are tools of communication, of uniting, but also when used incorrectly can be tools of manipulation and separation, right?
Yeah.
And so now that we understand the bigger dynamics of art, how can we utilize it to unite, to calm, to invoke presence, right? To create culture, to create conversations between two different cultures that don't see eye to eye, but they see something that is unifyingly beautiful. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, man.
And that's a part of our art that I think we're forgetting, that it's not just to sell, it's not just to, glorify yourself on social media, it's to actually utilize, to create unity, to create a more rationalized truth amongst us all.
Absolutely. So dude, so what's next for you? Because you're always in something. I see you traveling here and there and everywhere, but you're always cooking up something. It's always exciting to see where your journey's taking you.
Well, my next level right now is I still want to pursue art more from a fine art perspective, really. I want to write a book on, I have like 50 pages of levitation, mathematics, and angle study stuff that I would eventually like to compile into a book.
Nice.
So that's my long-term project. But right now I'm a little bit more in the, I do strategy for brands as well.
Yes.
And my biggest thing right now is we're in a very twisty situation in terms of brands in the world. And so I'm aligning with brands that are bringing value to the world, like, 100% recycled, like vegan brands, all this stuff. But also utilizing the brand power, since I've been working with brands for so long, utilizing brand power to actually drive cultural change in the right and positive way, the way that it should have been done a long time ago.
Right.
Coming from the commercial perspective, a lot of brands come into the culture, hire from the culture, market to the culture, then all the culture comes in and spends all their valuable hard-earned money into the brand, and then the brand doesn't put it back into the culture. They might build one basketball court and then they put more PR money into telling the world they build a basketball court more than they do about investing into our culture, investing in the communities. Right? And so for me, it's like, okay, this is twisted. How about if we actually invest into the culture? If we put a huge agency in the middle of Brooklyn, the middle of Queens, and invite all these young creatives, all these young photographers, middle schoolers. We give them a little like point and shoot, like one of those like, $10 ones to go around, do a little photo walk, teach them about beautifying their city, teaching them to love, their surroundings, their cultures a little more, like giving them an assignment to like go take pictures of the special people in your life, right? Let's make a little gallery in your school. Unifying people through creativity, utilizing brand leverage. Because let's say, I'm working for this brand X, and I'm working with Flowers for Society right now, this incredible brand coming out of Germany.
Yeah, I've seen that, it's good stuff.
Imagine if Flowers for Society created the next Cartier-Bresson coming out of Brooklyn, right? When he grows up, he's gonna wear nothing but Flowers of Society. That means that it's good for the brand, but it's good for humanity as well, because the brand gave the world a Cartier-Bresson. They invested into a young Cartier-Bresson that wasn't gonna be a Cartier-Bresson if he wasn't allowed to vibe, to educate himself, to inspire himself. Right?
Absolutely.
And so it's cross-leveraging all these different opportunities and all these different things that are in my life to hopefully move community forward, dude. Because if we don't do it, then who the fuck is gonna do it? I'm just tired of waiting for people.
I know.
And that's why,
that pretty much sums up, this podcast, because I'm like, why wait? Because at the end of the day, there's so many different things in my life that I feel that I have to do something more than what people expect. Because I've always been that, but I'm limiting myself because someone's trying to stare me into mediocrity if I do something a little bit bold and audacious or something to the left or right that everyone's not doing. It's like, what is Chaz doing over there? Oh, well, shoot, it's not like everybody else, so I'm gonna just keep doing this thing because this is working. But I said, you know what? And I'm talking to the camera when I say this because I really want to relay this message. I felt as though I was being made to only share a fraction of my life. This podcast allows me the opportunity to be able to explore every part of myself. Because at the end of the day, I believe that like butterflies, we're here for a short period of time. And we have to be as colorful and vivacious as we want to. And we can't allow someone's displeasure or uncomfortability to make us anything less than this. I was made to shine. Erick was born to shine. We're all in a place right now that one day we're not gonna be here. I don't wanna look back and have regrets to say that I did something everybody else did and never really found my true voice. This podcast represents my true voice, and to be able to share this, share my home with friends like Erick and people in my life, it really, really means a lot. So it's an honor to have you here, man.
It's an honor to be here, brother.
This conversation is definitely one for the ages because, I think a lot of creatives out there are really looking for popularity and not really looking for the thing that makes them unique. And I think this conversation could hopefully maybe pierce some hearts to be like, you know what? I want to do something different. And it may not even be photography. It may even take them off of social media. But if they find that you're happy, then, that's what it's all about.
Happiness is a key, and happiness is a verb.
Yeah, absolutely. But dude, I appreciate you so much, man. You are a homie, you are a friend. We say homie in New York, especially when it's like people that are really tight and you're in a small circle. Oh yeah, Erick, he's a homie. But yeah, Erick's definitely a homie. I'm so glad to have him here. But thank you once again for joining me in my living room. Look forward to the next one. Until the next one.